folks, welcome to this exciting video where you once again join me in the beautiful landscape of Scotland. And today we've come to a piece of land that I've never documented before. In last week's videos I basically documented from here all the way north, and in today's video I'm hoping to go south, and I'm once again kind of in the Kinneff area of Scotland, documenting history that we've never seen before on the channel. And today the weather's freezing cold and also extremely windy, so I'm just dodging that to have the coolest adventures, folks. You know how it is. So let's get into the action. So today I'm keeping my eyes peeled for any abandoned history from basically any time period in Scotland. And there's history from like World War II all the way back to ancient medieval castles. And we literally found a castle last week. That's how in this area I thought I want to come back, because there's so much special history in a place like this, including the fishing heritage, all other madnesses. And wow, I'm just basically like going left and right. My adventures are spontaneous. I never know what I'm about to see, and I'm sure there's a cool like bit of rock here where you can go like underneath the land through an arch. That's kind of what I was heading towards today. So I was basically, on today's adventure, folks, I was hoping I could get down to this kind of area in front of me. You can see the crazy geology, and that goes right through to the next cove. But I was thinking I might be able to walk down somewhere, but I've not actually been able to do so. And I'm a bit wary going close to the edge of places like this. The seagulls around here at this time of year are going mental. The noise they make, look at them. They're out hunting, probably looking for some fish. And I found a little gate out the side of the field. I'm kind of in this corner piece of land, and I always love exploring it. I say it quite a lot in my videos, but if I go to an area that I've never been before, that's when you have the coolest adventures. So on this channel, folks, I'll always promise you the coolest of locations, not only the abandoned history, but also the incredible landscapes that's hidden within. And just look at this piece of coastal land here. I'm sure if I can make my way up the side of this, there's like a wee tunnel goes through to the other beach, through the hill. So I'm keeping this part of the adventure fast paced, because I believe the tide could be coming in. And I'm obviously not wanting it to cut me off a while around here at the side of the coast. So I've made it as far round as I can. I'm not able to make it round to that coastal tunnel, which is a shame, but I did try. And that was a cool way starting to this video. Look at the rock erosion here, folks. Check it out, the rocks have totally eroded like that with the wild winds and the weather. And that's why they often crumble after a heap of years. They fall down. And just check this out, I need to navigate my way back up, and I'm going to have a look around into the next cove. I'm just thinking if I didn't find any history around here, I'll head up further up the coast in my car and we'll go to another location, because there's so much to be seen. It's often cool just going left and right in the lands of Scotland. The things you find along the way are just crazy. Look at that, the big cavern leading into the hill. So I was just following this kind of track down from the field. I was just round that corner a minute ago in the last clip you saw, but I thought this track here had been put in at a certain time, and I was just wondering if it was something to do with maybe fishing back in the day, or it's like this has been their access route down to this piece of coastal land. Maybe they had their boats moored in here at a certain time back in the 1800s. But yeah, I was just kind of thinking there might be a wee building or whatever if there had been a track. And the landscape around us that I was greeted with as I walked around the corner, it's just breathtaking. Whoa, no way, folks, look at this. Wow, look, there is another building here, and this is crazy because I actually think I have been to this building years ago. I think the last time we walked, I was with Highlander 87, and we walked the whole way up that side of the coast, and we came around and found this at the top of our walk, and I had no idea it was this close to here. Let's go and take a look at the history right here, folks. Wow, the geology on these cliffs across here, folks, is just mad. Check this out in front of me, there's a massive dangerous gorge. I'm playing it super safe because I'm unfamiliar with the terrain. This year in Scotland I'm trying to explore all the wee nooks and crannies and the wee corners that I've never seen before. And it's crazy, sometimes I realise I've been to a location once I get around the corner. There's a little waterfall and stuff like coming down the cliff. So these buildings here are actually a similar construction to the last week's videos. We saw some 1800s like fishing buildings and stuff. And this is almost exactly the same thing. I theorised that it was like a winch house the last time, but also it's a place where they would have brought their catch in from the boats and sorted it out, and then they would have taken it up obviously and carted it away from whatever area. And I think at one time there had been a lot more land around here. That was how that original track, when I followed the track in there along the side of the field, it kind of would have led round, I think, farther at one time. But over the hundreds of years, the water just takes away all that, kind of erodes it out. Wow, this is incredible, folks. Sometimes I go on so many adventures, I just get blown away when I see a certain place. It's mad, like, there's so many places in Scotland to be explored. When you come out and about into the wildness of nature to see them, it's just the coolest thing. So this building closest to us, built with the natural bedrock from the ground, it would have been the oldest building, dating back like 1800s, built with the resources they had around. And then the next building would be a lot newer, probably built into the 1900s or whatever, using the concrete construction. And little buildings like this just tell the story of the fishing heritage in an area like this. The fishing heritage of Scotland, it was such a big thing, the thing that fueled so many communities for such a long time, that's now gone. Little fishing communities that were in little coves like this, one day they just fell silent. And it is just crazy to often come to a place like that and imagine it when it was first built, or when it was in its prime. Imagine the pride they probably had when they built their new fishing shed. Yeah, this is just so similar to the last episode, or not even the last episode, but the last fisheries that I went to was probably constructed from the same fishermen, because it was just one cove further along. And look, this one's full of litter and junk. Oh, folks, check that out, there's an old gas cylinder and stuff in there. Plus a million other items. That's maybe stuff that's been washed up on the shore over the years and people's put it in here. It's maybe been all the stuff drifting on the sea. There's a lot of stuff can get washed into these Scottish coves. And just imagine this structure here when it had its roof. Wow, it's so wild and ferocious at times, the North Sea. Today it's more the wind and stuff. Some adventures are quite difficult at this time of year. Once things start to get more overgrown, it's not at that stage yet, but I just love being able to get so many places to explore. And in the summer you're actually limited. That's how in the winter or the spring, kind of making the most of just going to the craziest little places like this. It's amazing to be here, to stand and look out over the sea. And then to think of the people that may have stood at this historical wonder looking out over the sea. Anyway, let's take a look at the even older building which is round here. I love the character of the older buildings. Things got more plain, and it was easier to obviously construct a big concrete building, so that's why they did it. But the buildings back in the day made with the proper stone were so much nicer. Look at that, the character of that wee window even. It's just like a scene out of some mad like film, The Hobbit or Lord of the Rings or something like that. Look at the erosion around this front door of the building here. These most likely would not have been lived in. They would have just been little fishing buildings for the industry of the fishing. The people probably lived in local communities around near here. And I think they still had a fireplace in them for the heating up or whatever. They'd be standing in here on the cold days probably sorting out the fish. They maybe had a special window with a shutter so they could bring the fish in easily from their catch. And it literally is like hundreds of years, so a lot of the history kind of goes missing. The stones is the strongest item here left to tell the tale of that history. And even the limestone mortar here erodes away with the wild weather and the wind. Look at that, there's some metal bracket sticking out the wall. I don't know what's been on there at one time. Check it out, there is remains here folks on the wall. Look at the old fire, it's crazy literally how much erosion here is on these stones from the rain and stuff running down them over the years. It's like fragile sandstone, but some of this other rock here is some of the volcanic types of rock that you get in the ground as well around Scotland. It's just a random mix and match of stone. It's just so cool folks. I often say wow and everything, but when you look at these wee windows and things, it is just like being in a movie set, and it's the craziest movie, the BKR exploring movie folks, and it is just one place after another like this. I say it often, but it's like time travelling. Check out here, there's where the door frame had been mounted into the rock, and look at the difference in the erosion with the sandstone and then the other type of rock which is in the ground here. It's far more of a hard rock, kind of harder to erode with the wild weather, and the sandstone is just different altogether. It's just disappearing, turning back to sand in the wind. Oh, that's so cool. The coast is so wild up at this far end. I'm going to take a walk up to the far end of the beach. We'll see if there's anything interesting being washed up on the shore. I can't even believe that I found this little historical wonder. Sometimes with the spontaneous adventures, that's the coolest thing, because you don't even know what you're about to see around the corner. Last week we found like that medieval castle and stuff like that, and it's no different today finding this. You can go like another couple of miles in Scotland and it's just one thing after another. Check it out folks, that's probably off a fishing boat or whatever. The boys probably lost that over the side of the boat, or it's maybe been washed away from a harbour wall. Yeah, this is some mad amount of pebbles here. From looking at the land, I believe there's been another track that's gone up the hill there behind the buildings, and it looks like it's waved kind of up to the field height. And that could make sense, but then it makes me think, was there something else over there that's now just been washed away? Because the east coast of Scotland does get washed away quite frequently. There's often mad storms. There's so many seagulls today just circling in the sky. I'm going further down to get a better look at this incredible waterfall. It's like being in some total fantasy landscape here, with the way the water's trickling down off the high hills, the noise of the North Sea ripping in over the bank of pebbles here. Imagine how ferocious the sea was when it was up here ripping into these pebbles. Probably it even hits those buildings and things at times on a high tide. So this is where the wee waterfall finally makes its way down to this kind of pebble beach at the bottom of the cliff. Like there's something been washed ashore here. What's it been? Look at that. Anthocyane liquid black carrot. Oh look, liquid black carrot. Netherlands folks, shout out all the fans in the Netherlands. Oh, sometimes also you can see the whales and dolphins and stuff jumping out in the sea here on the east of Scotland. It's a crazy environment, not only for the wildlife and the nature, but also the history. I just love it, and it's always cool having something different each week, because I've seen so much today that I didn't see the last time I came to this place. I remember I walked so far the last time. By the time we reached this, we were totally knackered. Look at this, the waves is ripping in down at this corner. It's pretty cool. I need to keep one eyeball to the cliff and just make sure there's nothing away to roll down on my head. If the cliff decided to gee up, there's not much you could actually do. It would just crush you. Whoa, here we are, look. I'm not going any further around obviously, because the waves can total rip in. This is a mad scene folks. It's a true Scottish paradise. The crazy thing about the rocks around this cove here, they're all worn with those mad like holes that go really deep in. And you didn't see that too often on the rocks, kind of around Scotland. This is a cool angle of this history as well. So much went on in every area of Scotland. Probably the people that built these fishing buildings would have had like a fleet of boats, probably using the couple of harbours, the same one we saw in last week's videos, and then this harbour here a little bit further south of Kinneff. And there's no real any like main road or nothing nowadays to a place like this. It is just literally like the slight remains you can see of an old level part in the ground. It's just like a slight hint of the history, and sometimes an old track or a road like that leads you down to an ancient historical wonder. Today it's been this mad little fishing bothy down at the coast. Probably if you were like wild camping or whatever in the summer, a wee bay like this or a wee beach would be so cool. Look at this rock here, folks. Most rocks look like this. It's a plain, smooth, boring rock. Look at this one here. Just incredible. All those stones are stuck within it. It's just a madness. It almost looks like a modern day cement, but it is literally the old bedrock of the land. Whoa, it nearly slipped. Yeah, what an adventure, folks. Each of these coves in Scotland as well are completely different. You can go around the corner and it just is so different to the next cove when you go around. And that's what I love. It's like fresh landscapes. It's so like wild. Look at this rock here. It's literally got a hole going into it, and some of that's because it's like an ore. Look at this, folks. Here's the incredible find of the day. I'm not sure if I even want to touch it. Look, is that not a cuttlefish? I'm sure it is, folks. That's what was known as a cuttlefish, because I used to have a budgie and you used to put that into the cage for it. But I have never ever seen one around here on the east coast of Scotland like that. A cuttlefish, of all things, folks. Hey, get in the comments, is that normal to find that here in the east of Scotland? Look at this, folks. This is a cool old artefact of history, and what even would that be? It's an old part of something made of wood. Look, it's got a bit of putty or whatever in the inside of it. That could be a bit of an old ancient shipwreck or whatever. I should lay it up onto the coast here. It's like wood, which is so extremely old, and it's got the 3 notches cut out in the centre. Super interesting. That's amazing to see things like that on the beach as you walk along. It's just crazinesses, little random nuggets of people's lives or little bits of the world. But it could be hundreds of years old, floating about on the sea. The light here on the windowsill, folks. What has that even been? A crazy wooden artefact of history. So there we are, folks, another little piece of coastal history here remembered in Scotland. And it's one of these things on a spontaneous adventure. I didn't even know what I was going to see, and for it to be this, a mad little historical fishing bothy, and then this land, the noise of the waves rolling in behind. And it's cool today to be out, even though it's super freezing cold and really windy. I always still want to come out and make these videos possible and hear these wee adventures. And I'm always just hyped when I find history like that in these coves. Oh, look, there's evidence here. There's maybe been people camping. There's some burnt sticks and things like that. Look at all this driftwood. Maybe parts of an ancient shipwreck here in the land. Look at that there, that's the colour of springtime starting to come out. Pretty sure, pretty soon these lands will be colourful. It's like there's been a path going up there as well at a certain time. See, it would be cool to find other little historical nuggets as well in this adventure. The adventure's never over on this channel. Sometimes there was little like World War II dugouts and things like that in the land. Gosh, folks, we've made it to the top of the hill. And look, it is actually just the field up here. I was seeing that area there from the bottom thinking it was something that had been dug. But I reckon now it's maybe just a natural bit of the land there. So you know, all these fields have been sowed, and pretty soon that'll be coming through, probably another week. There'll be a green layer sticking out of the ground on this field. And when I'm on my adventures, I'm always respectful of like farmers and landowners. I never walk on crops or stuff like that. I just love documenting the history and the crazy places, like scenes like that right there, folks. It's just the maddest of Scotland, like Scottish scenery. And I get people in the comments saying that they didn't obviously ever see the sea. And it's so lucky to be, hey, like everything on my doorstep. Not only the seaside, but the wild mountain landscape's not far as well. So this is the original old track down here, which actually led me to the history. And it may have been one of those old roads or tracks that at one time did go all the way around before all the earth got washed out. This geology and landscape here is crazy, folks. I'm just noticing there's hardly anywhere to walk down this hill, and there's some big holes. I'm just going to go for it. Full send down here. Super steep. So one day for sure, when the tide's out, I'm wanting to come back down and go right around and through that stone archway onto the other beach, because there's a massive big hole in the rock that you can walk through, and that's such a cool feature. I was wanting to see it for today's video as well as some other history, but sometimes it all just depends on the height of the tide there with the North Sea. So that's another piece of landscape that I can tick off my list, folks. It's another wee area that I had never seen before, and to see that piece of history in that cove, it's just amazing. A little fishing bothy, or the wee story, the history on the coast here of Scotland. It's another little building that's almost forgotten in a piece of land that's quite hard to get to. There's no main path or route even like down to that area. And today I've just been navigating around the edge of this field all the way from Kinneff basically, which is further up the coast here. Right folks, that's been another cool wee adventure. We've seen a piece of history or a bit of land here that's rarely seen, and it's cool to keep visiting these places on the channel every week. I'm waiting to go and record my next adventure now, so I'll be ending this one here. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll be back soon with the next one, wherever I end up going.